Look closely at these glowing lines. What you are seeing is the physical architecture of a human brain changing in real time. Over an 8-week period, the density of the amygdala shrinks, while the hippocampus noticeably thickens. Brain fog, memory lapses, and chronic fatigue manifest as physical erosion inside the skull, rather than fleeting psychological moods. When you subject yourself to chronic stress, sleep deprivation, and cyclical sugar crashes, you are actively degrading your brain's gray matter. This decay is reversible. Researchers affiliated with Harvard Medical School tracked subjects over a strict 2-month period, scanning their brains before and after. They proved that this structural damage can be actively repaired. Brain fog is a literal structural decay problem. Eliminating it requires the systematic construction of new gray matter through the specific biological inputs of neurogenesis. Neuroplasticity dictates the brain's behavior. Rather than a static hard drive, the brain acts as a living, shifting landscape. Every repeated behavior acts like water moving through a canyon. Over time, the consistent flow of your daily habits physically carves distinct neural pathways, reinforcing certain connections while letting unused ones wither. To widen the right pathways, the brain needs specific raw materials. Omega-3 fatty acids from foods like fish and walnuts are required to build durable cell membranes, while high hydration levels ensure neurons can communicate efficiently across those membranes. This chart shows what happens when you introduce physical movement into that environment. A 30-minute aerobic exercise interval triggers a distinct spike in brain-derived neurotropic factor, or BDNF. This protein fuels the growth of new cells in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. Stockpiling the right biological inputs is useless without a system to sustain the behaviors. The physical rebuild takes exactly 8 weeks, yet most stop before the first week is over. Most brain recovery protocols fail because they rely on the most energy-intensive, least durable mental part. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman categorized human cognitive processing into 2 modes. System 2 is our conscious, analytical mind. It requires intense focus and massive amounts of energy to operate. This diagram illustrates the problem. System 2 capacity drains rapidly. Under daily stress, your conscious willpower depletes by mid-afternoon, making an 8-week structural rebuild very difficult. However, System 1 operates on a different logic. It runs on habit, requiring 0 cognitive energy to execute tasks. Habit formation provides the mandatory biological bridge required to complete an 8-week neuroplasticity cycle. It allows the rebuild to continue even when your conscious motivation is exhausted. We know exactly what happens when people successfully cross that bridge. In a landmark study at Massachusetts General Hospital, MRI scans documented how meditation produced massive physical changes inside the brain's gray matter. The researchers mapped out precise parameters. Participants were instructed to practice mindfulness exercises for an average of 27 minutes a day, maintaining the habit for a full 8 weeks. The physiological outcome matched the psychological one. Participants reported significant reductions in daily stress, and their MRI scans showed that gray matter density in the amygdala, the region responsible for anxiety, had physically decreased. These structural differences were entirely absent in the control group. The gray matter had only changed in those who performed the daily mindfulness routine, proving the practice was the direct cause of the biological growth. The 27-minute mindfulness routine functions as an architectural remodeling tool. It halts the active erosion caused by stress, allowing the brain's natural repair mechanisms to finally catch up. Applying this to your own life requires a combination of the Harvard mindfulness parameters and metabolic protocols for cell growth. Together, they form a unified architectural blueprint. First, 10-minute focus tasks wire neural efficiency. Second, nightly journaling offloads clutter for deep sleep. Finally, 27 minutes of mindfulness shrinks the amygdala's anxiety capacity. Running this sequence for 21 days pushes the protocol past the limits of conscious effort. Once these actions shift into System 1 habits, you move on autopilot toward the 8-week neuroplasticity finish line. The human brain is a responsive environment. It continuously reshapes its own borders to adapt to the specific cognitive demands it faces every single day. The actions you repeat over the next 3 weeks physically construct the architecture of the mind you inhabit.